Welcome everybody to the Bhangra podcast. This is your host, Sahab Grover. I'm here with Umer today, and we have a very special episode for everybody. We put out a request on Instagram for people to submit questions to us for a Mailbag podcast, and we actually got a lot of response, which we're really happy about. It's awesome to see everyone's curiosity, and we really appreciate the quality of the questions and the thoroughness that a lot of people filled out these questions with. So we got so many requests that we actually are splitting this up into two episodes, right, Umer? So we're going to first be doing episode 1. We'll be answering a select set of questions, and then you'll be hearing episode 2 later on, where we are completing the rest of the questions and making sure we can get responses back to all of you. So, Umer, let's just go ahead and actually just start this off. Let's start this mailbag off. Let's start.
You wanna? All right. So, question number 1 is from Ishan Toteja, and Sab, why did you break the light bulb at ECS?
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I didn't break any light bulbs. I mean, are you guys talking about like the Bhangra move, like you screw the light bulb? But I did
shut
not.
Up, man.
Look. I didn't break any light bulbs at ECS. Okay, ECS committee, out there. I didn't break any light bulbs. I'm gonna deny it to this day. There's no evidence of it, even though there might be, but there's no evidence of it. So I never broke any light bulbs. I maybe did a nice little, step on stage. Maybe that's what they're talking about. I don't know, man. I don't know what you guys are talking about this me breaking light bulbs. I don't know what you guys are. You guys are hallucinating or something, man.
Oh, the video is so funny, man. All right.
Okay. So now let's get into our first serious question. So our first serious question is from Prabnur Bhatti, who is on for the list. So we're going to be naming the people, just to give you guys a format. We're going to be naming the people who submitted the question and what team they're on if they provided that information. So Prabnur's question is, why do you think BTF is dead?
All right, BTF is dead because a bunch of trolls get on. All right, honestly, and just the rise of Facebook. Nobody's really on it. BTF started when, there wasn't really a Facebook that was super active, and honestly, ever since Facebook started becoming a more popular platform, BTF started dying. But on top of that, dude, it's just everybody's addicted to BTF. It's just a bunch of old people who are over 28, 29 years old, just shitting on all younger kids that just trying to ask questions. Yo Mama Jama, Lil Jut, you're hilarious, but at the same time, dog, what sealed the deal for me was there was this last post on BTF was yo, can we use this site more? Because Sal posted on DDN with the whole season review thing, and then it was just two trolls just talking to each other the entire time. I was all right, the site's fucking
other than you.
It's
and then
really hard
to and then also people think I'm a troll on BTF because my picture is a bunch of penguins. I don't know why, but I'm pretty serious on it. Okay, but I remember that for me. So the last time that BTF was very, very active for me was Berg 2017 when there's a lot of comments a lot of stuff being spit out at each other between a couple teams. You know what I'm talking about, Umer. If you guys really want to look at it, you can go Berg 2017 and look at the.
It's read Saab's response. It's actually great.
You can read the 50 Berg and the AEG Berg, and you can actually see what old BTF used to be where people would just go at each other with no restraint. I mean, it was fun. But that doesn't really happen anymore. I mean, the other time that it was really active was on when MBT posted their audition video about Blowout. That was a big thing too. But then since then, that was, if you think about that, was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That was 2018.
Yeah,
and the Berg
it's
thing was 3 years ago. So yeah.
Yeah, every year there's maybe 1 or 2 posts that get a lot of action, and then people site activity spikes for the 2 days after, and then it just dies.
So what Umer, myself, Sahil Dadu, Basim, Salim, all those guys. There's a chat going with all the moderators. We were as moderators, I think, in 2018, 2019, Umer and myself. Something like that. And so when we saw all of that, we really thought that we want to create a platform that people actually use and something that's that will become something more useful for newer members. It's not really about the old people, the older members of the circuit, even though their knowledge is very valuable. But a Facebook forum will be more heavily utilized. That was our prediction. It looked like that prediction actually came true. We don't know. We're in a special case because we're in a quarantine. And that's why BTF is dead. However, the key thing about Facebook is it removes the anonymity of BTF that really caused a lot of problems. Because I'm going to tell you, these trolls that are on there right now don't even compare to the trolls back in like 2010, 2011. Like they don't even compare. They're like not even as funny, right?
Oh
And even
man.
those trolls, you kind of
Yeah.
knew who those people were because they didn't keep it so secret because they were just like whatever about it. Um, so at the end of the day, Facebook is more of a platform that supports these types of groups and these types of communities, and it has the tools for us to put together a forum type atmosphere, and that's why BTF, is dead because of these. Like Umer, you let it off because of these trolls, but I also think forum platforms in general are just out of date now. Yeah.
Out of date. Yeah. That being said, I mean, there's now a Facebook group, and it's pretty poppin'. You should go join it. Just search BTF on Facebook, and it'll be probably the first or second thing
One
that
thing I
pops
have
up
a
for you.
recommendation is I do want more teams to post their videos and ask for feedback. That was one of the key things in BTF. As I mentioned in the judges call or judges podcast, how we used to go on BTF and go to different performances and just provide his open feedback. And through that, he was able to practice his critiquing skills and also look at sets in a different light as a judging perspective, and it helped him out a lot. So I do recommend that more people do that. And if you ever worry that you're going to care what people think, what you're going to say, you shouldn't, because you should have enough confidence in yourself that you're able to provide valuable feedback.
All right. So to switch gears a little bit, last episode we were talking about ADZ and how the judging issue led to a team getting first, even though Bug fell off. And looking at the scores later on, the judges really only had 1 to 3 points taken off for the Bug. We saw that was a large issue. However, a lot of y'all, as we noticed from some DDN comments, weren't really sure why. And we kind of just want to read a response, and we're gonna try to help y'all understand where we're coming from, where a lot of people are coming from when we say how we saw it was ridiculous. So this was from Simran from Mob, and so she said, "Great podcast. I think it's a great way for people such as myself to learn from those who have more experience in the circuit. I do have one question that I'm hoping someone on this page can answer. What role does a bug play in a Bhangra setting? I always hear how important it is in a performance, but no one explains why. As someone who practices Sikhism, I understand the importance of a bug with a Sikh identity and recognize that it should be respected under all circumstances, whether that be in a Bhangra setting or not. From my understanding, the reason we wear vardiya that we do is because that was the traditional clothing worn in Punjab when Bhangra was founded. Many people in Punjab are Sikhs. Many Sikhs kept their hair, so a bug was a part of traditional vardi. As I stated before, a bug holds religious significance within Sikhism, so it should be respected under all circumstances. But Bhangra is not a Sikh dance. If a bug comes loose and is handled with respect by the dancer wearing it, then is it fair to disqualify them from placing or winning? Teams with bugs unraveled and Thorlas have fallen and have placed and even won in the past. It can also be argued that the dancing with unraveling bug is more disrespectful since that dancer prioritized finishing a performance rather than treating a religious article of faith with the respect of being worn properly. Where should the line be drawn and who decides that? One, first and foremost, I really appreciate you asking this question because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people genuinely don't. The circuit is always getting new people, and I think this needs to be more widely discussed because I think it was just kind of an unspoken rule, and there haven't been a lot of issues in the past 4 years, like Sid said in the last podcast. So I'm really glad. I really thank you for asking this question, and I'm gonna let Saab
Yeah. So
take it away.
yes, I mean I appreciate the thought that you put into this question. It is something that I have thought about myself. Being honest with you, being a Sikh who was born in the United States. Um, so what I'm gonna do, Simran, is I'm gonna kind of take your question and take its component pieces and be able to answer them in the most structured and organized manner that I possibly can. So the first part of your question was you asked what role does a bug play in a Bhangra setting. So I'm gonna preface my whole response with one statement. India is not like America. Okay, religion and culture are very much intertwined. What I mean by that, and I'm going to elaborate on that. What I mean is the religion, like Sikhi, is very intertwined into the culture of Punjab, right? And it's just like that. Like I always give this example of my mom watches these ZTV serials. You can't go one episode without a reference to Hinduism in any way, right? I'm not now. I'm gonna say this is not in a bad or in a good sense. I'm just saying that's what it is, right? You can't go one episode of a serial or these soap operas without seeing anything like that. So you have to understand that that's the environment that Bhangra was born in. Okay. Um, so given that the pagh in the role of the Bhangra setting, right, it's a very significant part of the male Vardi. Okay. Think about how much time is taken to put that pagh on. It takes 15 minutes to tie the pagh, right, at a minimum. Or if you're a fast pug tire, probably slower than that, or faster than that. But it takes time to tie a pagh. When you look at a Bhangra dancer, a male Bhangra dancer specifically, the first thing or the image of that uniform that they're wearing is the pagh. It's like the shine of Bhangra, right? It's like when you are, when you are seeing a male Bhangra dancer, that uniform, that piece of the uniform that takes the most time and stands out the most is the pagh, correct? So think about it in that setting, okay? So that's the significance that that pagh plays in the Bhangra setting, okay? Now the second part of your question now starts coming on to if a pagh comes loose and is handled with respect by a dancer wearing it, then is it fair to disqualify them from placing? Okay, so this is a very valid question. There have been situations, and I even know on my own team for Dila, this happened with one of our dancers in our Boston 2016 performance. Their bug had come off, and we still placed in that competition. So the key part here is it fair to disqualify them from placing or winning? I want to put this now because this is more of a judging question. I want to put this in the context of judging now. So when you talk about a bug coming off, now preface what I just said earlier about the bug in the Bhangra setting, how it takes so much time to tie, how much importance it holds in the male Vardi, right? In the male uniform. So if the bug is gonna come, if that part comes off the Vardi, wouldn't it be fair because of its significance in the uniform for it to give more maximum number of points for coming off, right? It would make more sense in that sense, so that because this is more of a judging question about disqualifying and placing and winning and not about the cultural aspect, you have to think about it in that context because that's where how the question is asked. And the bug, when it comes off, it's you are going to give a larger amount of deduction points because of that significance it holds in the Vardi. Now, there's a second part to this is the impact that it has on a dancer. Now, Simran, in your original question, which was done through a Facebook comment, um, I posted a link to a video from Punjab, which was I believe what I forgot what college it was. It was in Jalandhar. There was a competition where a Bhangra dancer is doing a kunda chal where the kunda is on his shoulders. Okay, he pulls the kunda up, the pagh falls off. His pagh just pops off. Right there, it falls in front stage. The dancer then continued to dance through that. They didn't stop. They didn't go pick up the pagh and they didn't go take it off the stage. That dancer was actually rewarded by the judge, not rewarded, but acknowledged by the judges by handling that situation with maturity because they didn't let it have a hiccup in their dance. Now, the pagh, because it was on the ground, it was the coach who had the team ran, grabbed the pagh, and took it off so it wasn't on the ground anymore because he was able to do that, right? So the thing here is in a situation where your pagh is potentially, unraveling or something like that, you have to think about the impact that will have on the dancer. Okay. Did it distract the dancer? Did they have to leave the stage because their pagh is falling off, right? How thrown off were they? So when it comes to disqualifying for placing or winning, you have to think about it if the first and second place, like Umer mentioned, I believe in the last podcast, that first and second place is typically very close in most competitions. So in that sense, if a pagh is a 5 point deduction, those 5 points are very significant. It can essentially take that team out of disqualification. Now, this is a judging perspective. This is important. What is really important about this question is this is something you should ask judges in your judges call to get a different perspective on how those judges think. Very important because this is just one person's, this isn't an opinion, okay? Just want to preface that too. The next part is the last part of your question is it can also be argued that dancing with an unraveled pagh is more disrespectful that the dancer prioritize finishing her performance rather than treating a religious article of faith with the respect of being worn properly. Where should the line be drawn and who decides that? So in the context of you finishing your performance, when your pagh is unraveling, you dancing your pagh unraveling is not a disrespect to it. It's just a poorly tied pagh. And there's no really like disrespect that's happening to that pagh because it's unraveling or coming off and you're trying to dance through it. You have spent 3 to 4 months preparing for that performance, and it's your responsibility to do as much as you possibly can to not allow that pagh unraveling hurt your team. it's not a disrespect to the pug. Now, if the pug were to come off and it be kicked off stage, taken, thrown off stage, then that's a disrespect to the pug, right? That's a different thing. But that's the same concept behind a kunda or a sup. You don't kick a sup, you don't kick a kunda, you don't kick a kato, you don't do that stuff on stage. In that sense, your turla is unraveling. You're on stage, right? It is up to you to use your dancer IQ and what is the judges have said in that questionnaire that you have before every competition that they have to understand what you're supposed to do in that situation. So if your thrilla is unraveling and you have to leave stage, right, you have to expect that there is going to be both a Vardy malfunction point deduction and a cleanliness and team sync deduction because one of your dancers out of your 12 just stopped dancing. Now, give the example of this guy in India or one of our dancers on Fertile who had this happen. Their pug had come off. They didn't do any disrespect. They didn't kick it. In the context of Fertile, they actually did like a mutta take to the pug mid performance and went going. You're gonna see less of a deduction on the points because they're not because a pug came off. It's not you're doing a disrespect to it, right? You do have to prioritize finishing your performance, and it's kind of like you have to just do that with the sense of you do not want to disrespect the bug. Yeah,
So
yeah, that's fine.
I do want to
Yep.
circle back to one thing, just make sure you're emphasizing this properly. I think the main question everybody really wants to know is like, why does a bug falling off mean a -5? And I think like you kind of hit that, but I want you
Yeah,
to just
I
like
can talk
emphasize
about that
it a
more. I
little
know I
further.
kind of I didn't really elaborate on the first point. So,
Mhm.
like I mentioned earlier, the bug and its significance in the Bhangra setting is that it is the piece of Vardi that takes the longest to put on. It's the piece of Vardi that has the most significance in the terms of the uniform that you're wearing. Okay, so if your chadra is loose and it's kind of falling, right? That Vardi piece doesn't hold as much weight in the uniform as the pug does. The pug,
Actually, that reminds me. I think Sid. I think I was talking to Sid about this earlier, and he made a really good example where it's like, yo, if somebody sees Sagar's underwear on stage, you like maybe take -1 off. Like that, like that's just like it's -1. It just happens to flash up and down for the chadra. So I mean, if you're gonna take -1 for a bug falling off, you're basically equating both of them. Like, but and obviously everybody knows that like a bug falling off is a much bigger, more noticeable, and egregious like Vardy malfunction than a chadra just like flashing up.
and yeah, it's all that relativeness, like Umer, that's what you're touching on. It's all the relativeness. When you do that point deduction for a whole bug coming off a dancer leaving stage, that, and the reason why I think this question came up, or this thing that came up, why we were so shocked by it, is because that judge ended up scoring that team 97 out of 100. So you're kind of in that context. You're saying that someone leaving the stage and then coming back on the stage doesn't have any impact to the performance when it should.
Yep.
It's and I want people to understand that the significance that has in the Verdi is important. You were spending so much time on it. It's more than not even just the really, and you kind of notice in my conversation I didn't really mention too much other than the preface with culture and religion being intertwined in India. That it's not really about okay, bug is article of sick fate, so then you can't finish your performance if the bug is coming up. Um it's not in your control at that point. It's kind of like what you do there from there. And if as long as you're not doing an action that is disrespectful to it, like I just mentioned, then you're fine. And then on top of that, you have to also understand that that bug coming off can then have a domino effect of affecting the person's performance. For example, and in this case, it was the person leaving the stage, right? And it's just something that you have to understand that that major Bharati malfunction happens, and it's going to have that impact on the performance. But it's not in any way trying to dance while your bug is coming off and trying to push through. It's not a disrespectful thing. And I did want to touch upon this point that um, the teams with bugs unraveled and Thurla has fallen have placed and even won in the past. Um, it's actually very hard to find examples of teams that have major bug, yeah, major bug malfunctions winning competitions.
The only example you can really give is NJ Warriors. Like the bug was like the Torla was floppy everywhere. Like that's the only example I can really give. And like talking to Harjot, like Harjot, dude's been around
Harjot
forever.
Hondo, right?
Does
Yeah,
not know
Gabru TV Harjot
huh?
Hondo, right?
Yes, Harjot Hondo GTV. Yeah, dude said he does not know an example of a team getting first place after a bug falling off. So I mean, like, I don't know if
And
that's
I also then we can
who I'm
point out
talking
how
to.
the dancer handled the situation. His effect for that Turla was flopping. It was just maybe it wasn't starched properly, maybe it wasn't pinned or whatever the way they were tying the pagh that day. It just stuff happens when you're performing and getting ready. There's a lot going on. He didn't let it affect his performance, and that's why it was actually you would get a less point deduction. So let's just say that dancer, you can see it on their face, they're scared. They're like, "Oh my god, I'm freaking out," right? But he wasn't. And this NJ, it's the performances Nachi Giovanni Berg 2015. Um, yeah, he didn't let it affect his face, his performance, his nakra, his execution of moves. Yeah, he was moving the turla out of his face during the ending segment. But like other than that, it's very important that this is not just isolated to Bhangra is a pagh is a sick article faith. You got to treat it with respect. You can't prioritize finishing a performance. It's you have to understand that that's the perspective that that's not the Bhangra perspective, and it's a cut what I just said. That's gonna get so much flack. I'm gonna end it off with this. It is not black and white. That's all I'm gonna say. It's not black and white. Um, but it's important. What I just did was I going back to the judging rubric is I compartmentalized an issue and saw its effect in different aspects of performance. That's how you're supposed to think.
Yeah. And listen, I mean, I understand you might have more questions, like hash it out. We can talk about it more. Like we'll post this on SoundCloud, Facebook, wherever. We can hash it out in the comments. We're gonna have a discussion about this, and like
You know
we
who's
would
someone
love
who's
to
very
have that.
open to these questions? Hardeep Singh Sahota, who runs Royal Academy Bhangra. Honestly, just DM him. I don't want to really say that. Honestly, he's very open. So follow him on Instagram. He runs live sessions, especially during this quarantine, that where he's answering people's questions about these types of things. Okay, so the next question, Umer, this is a question for you, and I think it's a great question for you because you do judge Bollywood fusion performances. Um, so the question was, it's a very simple one. Thoughts on Bhangra segments in the DDN circuit? This was asked by, I'm going to probably butcher this name, Probi Chandelier or from Saratoga. So Prabi, I think their name's Prabi Chandelier or yeah, I don't know. But Umer, thoughts on Bhangra segments in the DDN circuit?
I honestly, the biggest issue I really see with a lot of fusion Bhangra segments is just a clear lack of understanding of what each segment is supposed to be. Like, I'll see a lot of teams where they will put a pataka, a chuffa, a bertka, a jadu singa, a famania, and some jumps all in one segment. Like, and maybe every now and then I'll see like 3 beats of Jomer somehow because like the song slows down so they think Jomer is appropriate. Like, no, it's not. Like, if you listen to Tol and you are listening to like Tol beats, like every single beat instructs a step. And if you're switching bowl beats every 3 beats, every 4 beats to a different bowl beat, like there's not, it just doesn't make sense. And that's why a lot of these segments just don't have a lot of flow. That's my biggest issue with it. Is just beyond the fact like just learn how to do the dance a little better and spend more time with it. Like I think that's the biggest choreographic issue is just that lack of flow and lack of understanding of the steps. And it doesn't take a lot to get there. Honestly, just ask somebody, ask questions, pester people. Like people in the Bhangra circuit are more than happy to help. I get questions all the time. I answer everybody. Maybe not as fast as I should, but I, I get around to it
Yeah.
eventually.
I mean,
Um,
Umer, what I want to kind of highlight in what you said, and I'll say this: there are some really cool ideas that happen in
mm-hmm,
the DDN circuit, like
mm-hmm.
very very cool ideas, like Spartan, like Badmash. I know Bhangra heads are probably like, dude, why are you talking about a fusion team right now? But Spartan Badmash from Bollywood America a couple years ago had a sick sub segment. It was a crazy cool, and they were doing sick concept. You can do a lot, but what the cool key thing here, and kind of my perspective on this, is you need to understand if you're a Bollywood fusion dancer, you should be understanding whatever dance form you're putting on there. You need to be a student of that dance form, and if you aren't a student of the dance form and understand what it means or how to construct that piece of choreography, then you shouldn't be implementing that because then you're doing a disservice and a disrespect to that dance form. This is not just Bhangra. This is my opinion. that I, as someone who's like, I always kind of say that I'm always trying to learn as much as I possibly can about anything, no matter how old I am, no matter how many years of experience I have. I'm always trying to learn more things. That's how you have to take that approach. But I don't see that these Bollywood teams become students of Bhangra, and you have to do that if you're going to implement it into your dance.
And also, like, listen, it is fine if you guys just know you're not that good at Bhangra. Just don't do it. Like, it's okay. You don't have to do it. Like, nothing makes me more flaccid than like a trash Bhangra segment. Like, it just brings me down so much. But yeah, like that's fine too. You don't have to do it. Six, if you, yeah.
And I do also, and Umer, I'm going to just steal your thunder here. Stop stealing things like really blatantly. Like I've seen teams like they'll ask. This is a kind of nice thing. Bollywood teams, you guys ask. You ask when you want to steal stuff. But if you're gonna steal something, do something new with it. Like I'm always okay if someone's gonna take the Fatile Shing if they do something cool or new with it. I'm not okay if you just put it in there to be a filler because that what that does that devalues something that's a trademark of my team, and you don't want to do that. That's how I'm gonna end it there because I could talk for days about the Bollywood circuit and their Bangladesh segments, but we should move on to the next question.
Yeah. What are the key traits of a strong, long-lasting team, and what does its team culture look like? So this was asked by Prajit Narendran from IU. Dude, who the fuck are you? Stratified squamous epithelium is literally
Yeah,
the
okay.
handle. I don't know where you're
Bridget,
from.
Umer's
I
not
tried
saying
to
who the
figure.
fuck are you, but he's talking about this next handle because
No,
you
no,
just sounded
no.
like you're like, who the fuck are you? Dude, you just think you got it on Instagram, man.
No. And then Arushi Kotra from Tuscaloosa.
Go
So
Bama.
yeah,
Yeah, I can start off on responding on this one. So I'm gonna break down this question in components. So, what are the key traits of a long-lasting team? So in the leadership of a long-lasting team, I'm going to talk about leadership first because I believe it's the root of a great team. One of the key things is trust among your leaders and your leadership. And I'm going to give an example of how it worked really well in Fertile. So this is going to be kind of new to some of the Fertile guys because probably never heard of this. But so we were choreographing our Kunda segment, or one of the captains was choreographing the Kunda segment for this year. For we went to two comps, ECS and Maj, right? I saw the Kunda segment and instinctively I was like, I don't like this. This is not gonna hit. It doesn't provide me anything. I don't like it. I don't want to see it. It's boring. It's slow. It's a slow start off. I don't see how it's gonna like do well, right? Now, probably if you take me back my first couple years of captaining, I would have right away shot that segment down and put it down, right? I would have said, no, this segment sucks. I don't like it. However, I said, you know what? Let me see how this goes. Let me see what this turns into. Let me put the trust among the leaders because they are someone who's always looking for the best in the team or best for the team. So they have some type of idea, and I'm going to trust them and and not raise any doubts among team members because the second one leader says I don't like that, it then starts going into other members' minds. Okay, so I kept that opinion to myself, and actually our Kunda segment got called out, and then everything got built out, and then we went and competed, and our Kunda intro and segment got called out as being awesome and amazing. So just by trusting my trust among the leaders, even though I may have more experience than these people, even though I might say I have double the amount of experience and I know what hits and doesn't hit, and I judge Bangla comps by putting that trust in your among your leadership to know that they are going to do the right thing, then that's how something great gets produced. The other example I wanted to give is, and I'm going to just say this, that the leaders on your team, you need to find what motivates each dancer, and because each dancer is different. It's not an individual thing where, one thing is going to apply to every single dancer that works for them. I've found that every person on our team is motivated by something differently. Some of the younger guys are motivated by I want to be Red Jordy in the future. Come on, like I want to be the best. Some of the older guys are motivated, but I want to dance with my friends, so put me as Jordy with one of my friends. Those are the battles that you have to do, and you have to strategically fight and actually work with to understand what your team and how it works and how people work. And then I do think that among the group, the other thing is that it's patience. No group just comes together and becomes super best friends. and you can't force it because if you force it, it's not going to become natural. Like it doesn't work like that. You have to allow your team's personality to develop. But as a leader, you want to guide that personality to match to match what your team's goals are.
Yeah, and I mean, so like completely agree with everything
Yep.
you said, Sab. I mean,
I mean, a lot of these
it's
things are like basic
huge.
leadership stuff,
Trust,
right? Like not even just like for Punk
honestly,
teams, it's
dude,
for anything.
dude, dude. Like, listen, the biggest thing I could say is like go read some books on leadership. Like there are business books.
Dale
Like
Carnegie.
there's a huge yeah, Dale Carnegie.
That's what I
That
read.
book. What is it like?
Make
How to make
how to make friends
friends
and
and
influence people, and then there's another thing that starts with 10 things.
yeah. Like, yo, read all those books. It might sound cheesy. You might get made fun of because people are like, "Oh, you need help making friends." I mean, yes, I do. But like,
Self burn, self burn.
yeah, self burn. But the thing is, I mean, like, dude, those things help. Like, really, just like read those things. Like it's basic leadership. And the other thing I want to give on top of what Saab said is just lead by example. Like, listen, you want your team to eat healthy. You want your team to make practice videos outside of practice. You want them to like know the choreo very well before they come in, come on time, all that stuff. You better do it too. Like, there's no excuse for you. If you want people to make practice videos, you make practice videos. You're the one you start the gun. If you want everybody to eat healthy, everybody better be seeing you eat fucking quinoa, chicken, and vegetables at every practice,
Is
and
that what you did, man?
drink a shit ton of
'Cause I'm
water.
not eating that shit in practice. If I ever dance this
Yeah,
weekend
fuck.
with
All right.
you.
Like, regardless, I mean, like, but that's the thing. Like, you set the tempo. The captains set the tempo. If you are lazy, everybody else is lazy. Everybody takes up the hints, and like honestly, it's like the young dancers are usually the first people to pick it up. From my experience, it's like captains lead, and then like the youngest, the newest people will pick up on that vibe, and then it will be like the sophomores, then the juniors. Like that's how it works. So you really got to start there.
Yeah, and then
But
one
yeah.
other thing is kind of on top of that. I mean, that's such a great point. Like we keep highlighting leadership because that leadership defines the culture. One thing on top of the leadership is to have the key straight trait of a long lasting team, and what does the cultures look like? Is it has a system behind it. The example I'll give is CMU Bhangra has a very distinct system on how they run, and that's why they have been so long lasting and just consistent. They have a system behind the way they run. I know FCB has a system. I believe Fodge has a system on how they run their stuff. A lot of these, I think that like a lot of these academies like NJ, they have a system, right? The worry that people have is if you have a system, you're gonna like weed people out, right? But it's very critical that you have a system to weed those people out. Any successful organization has a methodology and a system. That can mean how do you pick your dancers? How do you run your practices? That's the key to success because it reduces variability. Variability causes problems. You want to reduce the amount of variability in your organization. And what I mean by that, there's variables you can't control and that's people, but you can control the systems. And if you can control the systems, you can weed out those individuals who won't feel culturally. Because I can tell you, if you don't have that system and you allow anybody on your team, it's not going to work out for you. You should have that system, and if you don't have members that are going to buy into that system, then your team is not going to culturally look right. And it took me a while to understand this concept, man. Like I didn't understand it probably till like maybe again like this year or like last year, like that. I mean, I had to take like a year break of Bhangra to understand how to be a more appropriate leader because it's very important to have these aspects. Um, if you follow these to a T, and then the last thing is we keep going on about this, but I can talk about this for days. But always be in the student mindset. Always. You
What you mean by that?
you can never stop learning, no matter what. You
Okay.
can never
Okay.
stop
Okay.
learning.
Okay.
I'm always trying to learn new things, and it always helps out because number one, it controls your ego because you're never going to be the smartest person in the room. That's very important. It will make you potentially a better dancer, a potential leader. I mean, I learned things from the Fertilia guys about like how to dance and choreography and all this stuff. People who are 5, 6 years younger than me, they teach me new stuff. So it's very important that you look at it from that light as well. So yeah, so next question. That was a great question. The next one is what is the process to grow your team from a lower tier partner comps to the next level? How can mid tier collegiate teams elevate to the next level? So this was actually a response. This was a question that we got asked by many people. We just grouped them into what were the common terminology. But Umar, I'll let you take it away for this one.
Yeah. So okay, listen. So as many of you might not know, but my freshman year, I danced on a team known as Steel City Bhangra. They don't exist anymore. But when I was on that team, I, I mean, beyond the just like straight up like dancing part, like I'm assuming if you're saying you're like a lower tier Bhangra comp to a mid tier and like so on and so forth, I'm assuming to a certain extent that you can dance. Like you have the fundamentals relatively down. Maybe not like fucking SPD, maybe not like independent team shit, but they're down. Like everybody knows how to dance. Saab has some things, and like there are plenty of other things he's going to hit on. But for me, the biggest thing is you have to sweat the details. Listen, if looks aren't synced, if angles are not synced, if your approach to steps is different, like it's hard to like even give you points for anything else. Like that's the easiest thing to fix, and that's honestly sometimes one of the last things a lot of teams like fix is like sweat those details. Make sure those everybody knows what looks, what angles. Like one thing FCB does a lot is like if a segment's just like not syncing right, what we'll do is we'll run through the segments and everybody has to like shout out the angles at every single time. So everybody's like 45 left, square, like every single beat, we're shouting out all the angles so that it just gets ingrained in your head because once you do that, like it just looks better. It will look a lot better. And the approach to dance, what I mean by that is like sometimes what I'll see is like first half of a set, like everybody's like approaching the steps well, but then towards the end, as like energy starts to like kick it, like starts to fade and stuff like that, people start doing their own thing, and then you'll see like I don't know, the mall segment where like one dude is going absolutely buck, one person is just really not into it, another person's trying to be graceful. Like everybody, there might be different levels to it, but at the same time, everybody needs to attack and approach every step the same. So like an end segment, you have to go a little hard. Jummer, and if you want it to be a very nice, graceful jumper, there better not be one guy being extremely aggressive with their footwork. Like that kind of stuff. Everybody has to approach it the same. Everybody needs to have the same angles. Everybody needs to do that. You sweat those little details, and that takes you a really long way.
Yeah, those details. I mean, those details are what those are the little things that on a judge like that a judge will appreciate. And when Umar said like reference, where you were saying like, okay, I have kind of a different take on this. I'm thinking about, you're like a team that went to a couple small collegiate comps, but you want to go to blowout and win. You want to go to potentially champs and make a statement. You want to go to a bigger comp and make a statement, right? These are the type that's I believe where the question is kind of coming from. And there's two teams I can talk about that actually did this for a T. Those two teams are OSU Pangarda and MBT. So this is back in I think like 2015, 2016. I was captain of MBT. Um, OSU kind of started like as a small collegiate team, right? They went to blowout, but they didn't really make too much of a statement. They went to blowout 2015. We were as MBT, we actually were struggling to get into blowout. But one judge, Kuntal, actually judged us at a comp, and he said the thing that's going to take you to the next level is risk, pushing the envelopes, presenting something new, pick something and revolutionize it. Like OSU did that with their dancing, and the way they approached their sets. So they went from being the smaller tier collegiate team. They went to Berg 2015, and they then really pushed the envelope with their dancing, right? In the way they approach their choreography. Now come the next couple comps, they become more of a presence because they're pushing the envelope and they're doing something new with risk. I think they did new stuff with their jummer. They like incorporated the props differently. Their sops, they did some stuff like they did a lot of new things. For us for MBT, we were actually our first the year before that, which was my junior year. We were doing what Umer was talking about, was sweating the details. Like that is you have to do that. If you don't do that, then this risk stuff is never gonna happen. So because it shows your understanding of the dance when you're able to sweat the details. But then for us, it was kind of like, okay, we got to take our set and we got to do something new with it. Like we got to take our performance and do something new with it. So like come Buckeye, I think it came Buckeye 2016. We did like this thing where we threw our kunde and then dropped into jaw. No one's done that before. We've seen teams throw their kunde, but no one's like dropped right into jaw. We and then come blowout, we were like, we got to run the risk, We gotta do the push the envelope. We do something crazy and break Donald Trump's face like through boxes on the
No,
stage. Like we
yeah.
did something that,
Oh, that
and
was
bro,
so
that crowd
great.
reaction was like, holy shit.
Oh
And then
my
right
god.
away,
Yeah.
instinctively, you're doing something new. You're pushing the envelope. Teams and people will start recognizing you, and that's how you elevate yourself. So you sweat the details, and then you revolutionize. You. It's kind of like there's a concept, right? And this is I'm always like to relate Bhangra back to my professional life. Your first 3 years of anything, you're learning it. The next 3 years, you're perfecting it. The next and the 3 years after that, you're revolutionizing it, and that's how you should approach anything. Now, just take that and minimize that into 4 years of college, and then apply the same principles.
Dude, I think one thing you really hit on is just like a lot of people, and like FCB, I think does this a lot too, and we always like fight with this like where's the line, where's the line. But at some point we kind of like realize, listen, if we don't take the risk, if we don't make the changes, if we don't do the crazy shit, then we won't even place. So like we might as well take the risk and go for first. Like sometimes the risk doesn't pay off, but like listen, if I'm a judge, I will appreciate, like, I again, every judges may judge differently depending on the rubric and everything, but I always appreciate risk. I'll always applaud the risk, and like listen, it might not have worked, but you tried. So like even if you're like the UNC flower that just falls so spectacularly, like yo, you tried it. Like I'm gonna give you props for that. Maybe I'm still gonna have to take off some points because it fell so spectacularly, but you tried. You did something cool
And
today.
you know that
All right.
goal of like just ending that off is you tried something new. You tried to take something that's yours and take something and make it yours. If you think about those elite teams, a lot of them do that, and that's one way. It's a very
Yo,
complex. You know what's funny? What I just said is a very
yo, how many
complex.
gimmicks? How many
What I
FCB
said is very
gimmicks? Yeah,
complex.
how many FCB
What's up?
gimmicks have failed? How many FCB gimmicks have failed? All of them. Every single fucking one of them.
I mean,
Like,
everyone should go watch Berg 2014 ending. That's the funniest shit ever, dude. Holy crap.
oh
Oh my god,
my.
I don't know what was going on. It's like, okay, this is a Bhangra performance. This is awesome. And then I'm like, dude, why is there a guy shirtless on stage? What the hell is going on? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, that's a great question, and I hope that provides some help for people going to the next year. Given that we have Bhangra comps. So the next question is, what do you look for in a good Bhangra dancer? From Zoaib Afridi, who goes to, I believe, JMU, which is James Madison University. So yeah, what do you look for in a good Bhangra dancer?
Yo, big thing for me, and it's solid fundamentals. Like, okay, when I'm saying good, I'm interpreting the question as like a good dancer, not like an elite level dancer. An elite dancer, yo, that's like all stage presence nakra. Like that, it is those little tiny like details. But for me, a good dancer, yo, you're smiling all the time. You look like you're having fun. You have solid fundamentals. Your posture is good on barca. You're getting wide. Your legs are high. You have mode. If you don't have that, not like literally nothing else matters. And I think that's like one thing. If you are trying to like become a solid dancer, like watch some people on YouTube, find a dancer that you really like, that you really want to emulate. Put that video in front of you. Get yourself in front of a mirror, and then replay that like 5 section like of how they did a Jadu Sinka, and then just do it in front of a mirror over and over again until you look like that dancer. Once you get those fundamentals down and you have that solid basis, that's what I really think a good dancer is. Also, like you can get through the set. If you can't get through the set, fuck you. I don't care about you. Like
Hey, bro.
honestly,
Sometimes people
like,
struggle. Okay. Sometimes people have a tough time getting through sets. Okay.
okay, then fuck yo, like stop
I'm
eating the
not
protein
speaking a little bit
and
from
like
experience. Okay. But yo, the from my perspective, I think about it in a team point of view. If you're a good Bhangra dancer, now I'm gonna say this in 2 points. You're a good team Bhangra dancer, and you're a good Bhangra dancer. A good Bhangra dancer in one team may not necessarily be a great Bhangra dancer on another team, because those teams have different distinct styles. Okay, so what I would say, if you're a good Bhangra dancer on a team, you're gonna be able to execute the style of Bhangra that you were taught in an effective manner. Now, if you're just talking about bass, good Bhangra dancer, in order to do that, you gotta understand Bhangra beat. Like you gotta understand the taals that are being played on dole. You have to understand like why moves, how a move is done. Like I think Umer, you talked about this, the approach to the move. You have to really understand the approach to the move. And what that's going to end up show is your control of your dancing and your body and the maturity that you're able to present on stage. That's for me what highlights a good Bhangra dancer and also a good team Bhangra dancer. Yeah, cool.
Cool. Well, that is the end of the first Mailbag podcast. It was really a lot of fun.
So thank you everybody for tuning in for episode 1 of the Bhangra podcast Mailbag. So be on the lookout for episode 2.